Here's a question for you. When was the last time you asked Google for an answer and instead found yourself asking ChatGPT? Welcome to XTrawAI, the podcast where we extract the raw conversations shaping the future of business and AI. I'm your host, Raghu Banda, and this is my digital twin, AI Raghu, giving the intro. Today, we're tackling the future of search. It's no longer just about ranking on Google. It's about being the trusted source that AI platforms like ChatGPT, Claude, and Gemini recommend. Joining me is Kevin Roy, CEO and co-founder of GreenBanana SEO, a pioneer in performance-based SEO, and now a leader in what he calls LLM SEO, making sure businesses show up in AI-generated answers, not just search results. Kevin, welcome to XTrawAI.
All right. So, welcome back to our Extra AI podcast, where we talk about different things around AI and machine learning. And today, in the context of today, we are having an interesting conversation. We all know about the impact of search and how search has evolved over a long time. And now, with AI and generative AI, that whole space is getting redone or reimagined. So today I have the honor of inviting Kevin Roy, and we are going to talk about ranking in the age of AI. Welcome on board, Kevin.
Well, thanks for having me.
So to get the things started, Kevin, what is that? What is your backstory, or what is your personal story or a professional story of how you ended up coming to this kind of a state where we are trying to?
It's a long backstory. It started with, I went to go work for an internet startup right out of graduate school, and I was the trade show marketing guy. And that was when trade shows were super big. Like I remember passing like Bill Gates in, this was back in, when they were big, massive expos. But I was cubby mates with a web guy, and he recruited me into his team, said, I'll let you take classes at MIT and coding if you want, we'll pay for it. And so I jumped at that. Long story short, he ended up leaving. I took over his position. The company got acquired by EMC, and then I went off and started my own gig, and I had some severance money, a little bit, like to last me a couple months. I went to 3 local business owners and said, your web presence is terrible. I will fix it for free. If you like it, tell your friends, just don't tell them how much it cost, like that I did it for free. And that literally launched the business. So that was 16 years ago.
Wow. Amazing story. And I think these are the kind of stories that inspire other people and other founders and other startup venture partners and others.
Yeah, I think if I had any advice to give to people, it's 3 steps forward and 2 steps back is still a step forward, because you're going to be doing that all the time. So just consistently try to keep moving forward, knowing that you're going to go backwards a little.
Beautiful. So before getting into our conversation, I have one other question. Like, I know you have been in marketing for a little over 20 years, right? What's that one AI-powered change in search that you think people still haven't noticed, but it's already happening? So
one thing that people still haven't noticed that's already happening, I think, in search. That's a great question.
Maybe we can come back to that later.
No, I guess I would say that Yeah, let's come back to that because I have
Yeah,
to think that I see it so much that for me, it's
yeah,
like, I don't know how everybody's not noticing it. Right?
yeah. Because
Yeah.
for us, we are in
Yeah.
that business. We see
Right.
that, but for
Right.
for an outsider who's listening
Yeah.
in,
So I actually, I can, let me answer that question. So,
okay.
Google is starting to finally put ads in there. So I think if people haven't noticed that ads are popping up in, in Gemini, I think that's something to look at. I don't know if people see that now that a lot of these generative engines are showing where they're searching, and that is really a great indicator for what you should be doing for SEO. So it will say, hey, I'm looking for results right now, and then it will start to pull off, like, I'm looking at this site, I'm looking at Wikipedia, I'm looking at Substack, I'm looking at Reddit, I'm looking at these other high authority pieces. So just, you don't have to actually read them all, but just keep that top of mind that AI is grabbing information from the internet
Hmm.
to
Hmm.
create a story.
Beautiful, beautiful. I think, yeah, I like the way you have put it. I think, yes, there's a lot happening. We could, is much, we don't even know. I think there is lot of these things are already happening around us.
Yeah, there's so much we don't know. I listened to a really interesting um, podcast last night, and um, about the people that founded the top 5 founders of AI, and
Hmm.
they don't exactly know why it works like it works.
Hmm.
It's very interesting.
So let's now get into our topic, right? I think I know the traditional SEO is changing fast. I think this whole field
Mhm.
is changing fast. So can you explain what an LLM SEO is and how it differs from the Google SEO that we all know about?
Well, I think the first thing that but let's talk about like Google and Gemini. So the first thing
Yeah.
that you noticed is um, the latest I looked at the numbers as of June
Hmm.
2025, 60% of searches on Google, which is about 250 billion searches. So there's like 405 or 406 billion searches a month on Google. 60% of those are now 0 click.
Mm.
So, so um, Google and also all the other LLMs are
Hmm.
giving you the answer at the very top, and people are getting that answer and not clicking it.
Mm.
One thing that I did that I found is that um, uh, Google Analytics, if someone is clicking inside of Gemini, Google Analytics is putting that as direct traffic. So we're noticing that for a lot of our clients, they're seeing a decline in organic traffic, but an increase in their direct traffic. But they're also pulling in some searches from ChatGPT. Why Google uses ChatGPT as a tile and doesn't have Gemini as a tile is remain to
Hmm.
be seen. But we're seeing that kind of data. So that's the biggest thing that is changing is people aren't clicking. So it's really,
Hmm.
really important that you get up into the top.
Okay. Okay. So now when we come to this LLMs, right? LLM search engine optimization. Uh, you've said that getting mentioned in a chat GPT or cloud answers is that what the real future of SEO, right? Like, but how does it actually work? Because many people might think that, okay, if my answer is coming in a chat GPT or a cloud or a Gemini, it is
Mhm.
being mentioned. But if not, uh, I'm kind of I don't know what to say, but how does it actually work? How do you make it available as part of this? Uh,
Well, I think the first thing is you want to find out if you're ranking or not, and if you're
yeah.
being mentioned in there. So there are tools out there that will tell you, hey, you're being mentioned in these AI, and this is how many times you're being cited, and these are the topics that you're being cited for. There like one of my favorite tools is it's really hard to pronounce, and I hope they change the name of this. It's wakeai.io.
Hmm.
Um, and they will come and say, you know, here are your strengths in AI. And here are some of the knowledge gaps that AI is looking for that your competitors are outpacing you in. So what we're seeing in these different AI engines is that they're trying to build a comprehensive story to answer the questions, but they don't all look for the same thing. So Google, for example, is going to put a lot of value in GBP or Google Business Reviews, right? Because it's their domain and their property. Chat a lot of times is looking at Wikipedia or Substack and Reddit. So they're all pulling information from different places in the internet, but it seems like they're all building their story their own way right now. But back to your question, I would spend the time exploring different tools like Ahrefs, SEMrush, SE ranking, that Wake AI tool, and it will show you. They all have a little bit different information, but a lot of them are highlighting if you're being mentioned, where you're being mentioned, and some of the gaps that you have in it.
So taking that further, like what are some of those common mistakes businesses might be making, right, when trying to adapt an AI-driven search pattern? So now that we are getting into this game of finding your business out or finding yourself out in this mesh of things or maze of things. So what is that what are some of those common mistakes businesses are making?
Well, if they're still optimizing towards Boolean searches, which is, Boston SEO, people are now looking for who's the best SEO agency in Boston. And they're asking chat questions. They're conversing like you and I are conversing right now. And that's one of the things that the large language models are giving people the ability to do. So you should be creating like FAQ sections on almost every one of your pages. So you can say, around this subject matter, here are the questions that people are looking for, and here are the answers. Another thing that you should do that's people should be doing, but a lot of people aren't doing it, is adding it to your schema. So you can put Q&As in your schema or your markup language. So that we're finding that seems to be working really well because the large language models are accessing schema and pulling that up in their search.
So basically what you mean to say is that the way this generational shift is happening, earlier we used to kind of interact on the systems by typing in some things or maybe through some user interface screens or going through a website and so on and so forth. And of course, the websites are designed in such ways, maybe showing some transactions or showing some details. But now it is all driven towards an FAQ style or a conversational style. So the way things are moving towards is that you need to have some kind of a conversational interface built into your web engine or your web business so that it's easier to be made available in some of these engines.
Right. Exactly. I think one of the best statements I've read lately is that LLMs were created by linguists, not computer programmers. So Google, Bing, and all the search engines were built by computer programmers. LLMs were built by linguists and powered by developers, right? So when you're formatting your website or when you're formatting your links or your press releases or comments on Substack and Reddit, think about how you and I are talking right now. So I love, like, I don't know, I'm older, I like Star Trek, right? So Data, go find me the best pizza place in Manhattan. And it's coming back, not having to think and say, I need to go best pizza Manhattan and Google it and read a search.
So I like the way you put it, right? I think saying the LLMs, I think, are being built by the linguists so that it understands the common language or the language patterns of people speaking or conversing.
Right.
There is still this notion, right? I think, of course, that shift is happening in companies like Google, and of course, there are a lot of other bigger players in the LLM space like OpenAI and Claude,
Yeah,
and everybody
right.
is investing in this. There is still this notion that many companies still think that ranking on Google is the finish line, or the Google search is the finish line.
Mhm.
So if they think in that way, what is that particular thing they're missing about the
So
evolving landscape, right?
I would say that they're not necessarily missing
Mm,
the boat
mm,
on that. So there's something called training data and grounded data, and I'm talking about Gemini. So Google, which is the biggest search engine that
right.
people are still going to in droves. Um, Training data is the information that the AI already has, that it's already compiled. Grounded data is search based. So
Mm-hmm,
Google is pulling, or Gemini is pulling, a lot of information by a search. So one of the
mm-hmm,
things that we've noticed is our long time, like, so for us to shift from an SEO agency to an AEO agency was not that big of a lift. We had to
okay.
start adding more JavaScript, more markup. We had to find out where some of the gaps were in content that these LLMs were looking for, add more questions and answers. But generally, if a client is ranking really, really well for a lot
Mm-hmm,
of their core keywords, the LLMs are going and looking for it. They're gathering all that information from the internet and it's pulling them up in those. So if you're ranking really well, you're already in a good spot. You just have to find out where your deficits are. Like, you know what? I'm a physical therapist and there's not a lot of information about my doctors here or the
mm-hmm,
trainers here. It puts their name in a picture, that's it. But it should really say that, Jim has been doing physical therapy. He went to this school, he specializes in knees, and here's his blog page. Here's some of the things that he does. That's what they're in that instance, they're looking for that kind of a story.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So if you have to advise the business owners, right? Like for a business owner who has no time to figure out a lot of these details, right? I think there are now different tools popping up: ChatGPT, Perplexity,
Mhm.
Gemini. What would be the smartest first step that these business owners should focus on?
Well, so look at what you do. So if you're a local service company, what you do and where you do it,
Mm-hmm,
go into chat and go into Gemini and ask a question and see if you're
mm-hmm,
popping up. If you're popping up, great, you're in good shape. If you're not, I would use a tool that will tell you where your gaps are and then fill in some of that content on the site. You're gonna have to create content. You're probably not gonna have to rebuild your site. You're just gonna have
mm-hmm,
to augment it with some content. And the amount of work you have to do is determined by your competitors. So this is a really good opportunity for a lot of businesses that are in a who's like competitors aren't super savvy. We're in a business where everybody's super savvy, right? So
yeah,
so
right.
like it's a race. But if you're in a home service business, for instance, they probably aren't even looking, your competitors probably aren't even looking at it. So I would start searching how you're doing in those, ask some questions, ask some answers. If you're not getting the results that you're happy with, you're not seeing then find a tool that's telling you where the gaps are and then address those gaps. It's not as daunting as you think.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So you mean to say to these business leaders that I think first they have to start with maybe the basic search, understand what they are trying to do, and then kind of slowly build up into the tools, one of these tools, which might give them more context. So the background is still that they have to show up in this. If they are showing up well in a particular search, their transition to the from the SEO to AEO would always be easier. If they are
Easier.
not
Yeah.
even showing up well in the normal search, or if they are not able to find the details in a normal search, I think it would still be a problem. Okay.
It could be it, but to just to back up,
Mhm.
if you can't measure it, you can't fix it.
Right.
Right. So I
Right.
think it's important for them to start measuring it and then they
Measure.
can see where they are and build up to that.
So now taking the next step towards AI, right? I think now we are kind of transitioning from search, a mere search, into AI kind of a thing. How do you address this skepticism from these various different business leaders? I think maybe there are some business leaders, not all, who still see AI in marketing is more like a marketing buzzword rather than a necessity.
Mhm.
Do you still face that kind of questions with these business leaders that you interact with, or no, it is changing quite a bit now?
Surprisingly, no. Like our push into AEO from SEO
Mm-hmm.
was prompted by our clients. So our bigger and more aggressive clients were like, we need this now. We're hearing this. The CEOs are hearing it at forums, and they're starting to ask questions about that. So I think people have figured out by now that it's not going away.
Mm-hmm.
It really remains to be seen what happens. A lot of people in the circles that I'm fortunate to be a part of think that the search responses after AI are going to go away on Google. And
Mm-hmm.
then they're just going to keep the maps and location based things. So when that happens, people are going to wake up. But I think it's important to I think it's going to happen as soon as Google can figure out how to optimally monetize all this stuff, it's going to change.
Do you think? I think there is still. I think optimize. Yeah, I think this is a kind of a scenario. I know a lot of people are talking about this. Like, how does Google play into this, right? I think, of course, they had like 90% of search market, but
Right.
now when we are transitioning into the AEO phase or the AI driven search, things are changing quite a bit because here the context is going to be playing much more, and then
Right.
your
Right.
context parameters are going to be bigger. So I do not know how it will play in Google's terms, whether they want to abandon or whether they will lose some of this ad revenue in terms of getting some other uh, buy-in with the AI search or whatever. I believe even OpenAI, I think, as a matter of fact, Sam Altman has been thinking about how do you try to get some kind of a payload or a pay
Yeah.
advertisement kind of a revenue.
Absolutely.
So, the,
Absolutely. Yeah.
so what are your thoughts on that? I think you've been in this middle of moving from this search engine optimization to the AI-driven search engine
So
optimization.
so I think that I think if you take a step back and
Mm-hmm.
look at how big Google is and what their market cap is,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's really in the fact that they brought in, DeepMind and Dennis, who was
Right. Right.
notably the smartest person in AI. Um,
Mm-hmm.
they have a lot of people that
Mm-hmm.
understand how much money Google Ads makes, and they are going to address that. There's no way that they're not. There are probably thousands of people working on that right
Right,
now.
right, right.
They've already rolled out. I mean, we run lots of Google Ads for people. They've already run AI ads in search. There are talks of getting it into the um the Gemini desktop download. I wouldn't be surprised if they're courting like instead of going to Sam Altman and saying create your own pay model, why don't you use ours and we'll give you a piece of it.
Mm,
I,
mm,
I wouldn't be surprised if things like that are happening, but ads are going to show up in these things. It's just that it's a normal progression. Like Mark Zuckerberg didn't create Facebook
mhm.
so people could see what everyone looks like and have fun. He created it so you would keep people on platforms so that you spend more money on ads. They're going to figure it out. It's just how that's going to evolve.
Right, right. I think I agree. I agree to what you're saying. I think, of course, things will be figured it out. I think. Let's now come to your firm. I think I would like to hear a bit more about what you guys do. I know we talked about the the details, the nitty-gritty details of the backstory about search, and then how we are moving into AEOs. Uh,
So I'm really fortunate to be a part of a group of SEO people that are all smarter than me, and we meet once a week and we share the information that we're all learning collectively, and we built an SEO model from a lot of the information that comes out of that group. And because we have, I would say there are some black hat SEO techniques and there are proper SEO techniques, or white hat, but it depends. Technically any SEO is not white hat, right? So, but there's really bad stuff and there's stuff that are okay to do. We can't do the bad stuff because we have clients. So we have clients that we engage with, and we can't do anything that would get those people flagged. So it means we had to kind of work harder to get our clients to rank, because we couldn't use any of the fun tricks. So for us, high quality, relevant content, building content stacks or content trees that go in and address late semantic index words or variant keywords that support your main story. So we build our content like that, and we use press releases to do our link building, because it's high authority publications that Google isn't worried about. So you can send out 400 to 800 PRs to get 400 to 800 links with their real links that link back to the page that we're trying to rank. So what we found is that the clients that we've been doing that for are in a good position in AI when we ran it against those tools that tell us where the gaps are. Now we're shifting into what are those gaps. Like AI is looking for these stories that we're not telling on the website and building those pieces into it using our methodology, our content methodology. And we're adding things like JavaScript and LLM text files and little things like that. But it hasn't been a massive departure away from what we've been doing, which is kind of fun.
So the models that you have built, or your proprietary models that you are building, they are like kind of sitting on top of the other search engines or other LLMs.
I think we got lucky, because we had a strategy that was working for us, that was grounded in we have to do things that are above board for our clients, because we can't risk doing a fancy clickbait tactic that gets them banned. And LLMs gravitated towards those solutions. Doesn't mean that we're perfectly optimized for everything for all of our clients, but I think any SEO that's doing the right thing, and any SEO that's listening to this knows exactly what that is. You're gonna start doing some searches, and you're gonna notice that you're in a better spot than other people.
So maybe I think depending on a particular customer or a particular scenario, you might be using different techniques and different LLMs or different search engines underneath.
Yeah. I mean, look, so right now, I know people are probably going to debate this a lot, but Chat and Gemini right now, if I had to focus on any of them, I would just say, let's just focus on Chat. Gemini, Perplexity is super controversial. They do a lot of super cool stuff, but they are in the news for all the wrong reasons a lot, so we don't know what's going on there. So yeah, but I would those are the things that I would be focusing on.
So if you could explain, we don't need to talk the name of your customers or name of the companies that you work with, but if you could explain realistically an example, or where you can walk us through an example, and how using your tools and your models, how you have significantly improved a client's visibility. What could that be? Could you walk us through a scenario?
Sure. So what we'll do is we'll look at their top competitors and run a comparison in Gemini, Claude, Perplexity, Sonar, Chat, and say, here's how you're doing against your competitors in all of these LLMs, and here are some of the critical structural and content gaps that they're looking for that you don't have, that your customer has, and we have to augment that. Like, one of our really large clients is doing super well, but they don't mention pricing on their website, and their competitors are popping up because Chat and Gemini are trying to give answers to the client about pricing, and they can't find it on their site. Notably, one of the things that was really interesting is that we looked at the people, their competitors that were doing really well on pricing, and found that they address the topic of pricing, but don't put prices. So as long as that language is in there, so they're not coming out and saying this costs this, right? They're saying this is how we factor in pricing for the type of product that you're looking for, because they have a product that is very, 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 very variable pricing. So they don't ever want to say it costs, $500 for $10,000, because it could be, hundreds of thousands of dollars. So that's what we're doing for our clients. So we're building that out. We're addressing the content where they have the biggest gaps. We're also going in and adding schema, or making sure they have schema with questions and answers. We're adding FAQ sections to all of their pages. We're adding what's called LLM text files, which is like a robot's text, like a follow and no follow. There's a if you look up LLM.txt, there's an include where you could say like chat, Claude, Gemini, Grok, Sonar, Perplexity, follow us. It's remains to be seen if it's working, but it's like a handshake or rolling off the red carpet to them, and why not have it in there so your code is accessible to them, or makes it easier for them to access it.
Beautiful, beautiful. So how do you measure how a particular strategy is working when you kind of try around these different things when you're working with your customers? Is there any particular proven methodology that you go through, or?
So it's mentions and citations in the LLM. So I think I said this earlier, like I've evaluated a lot of tools. I have tools that I like to use. I found gaps in a lot of the tools that I've evaluated. We ended up building a tool that we haven't launched yet. We are really close to launching it. And it specifically shows how many times you are mentioned and what you're mentioned for in the different LLMs, because a lot of our clients are used to seeing, here's how many times, look in Google Search Console, here's how many times someone clicked this keyword, or here's the impression share for when someone, typed in bicycle, and here's how many people click bicycle. So they're looking for that. So we're creating something that shows something similar, because that's what people are understanding. I think a lot of the measuring tools that I've seen are so cool. They're so complex, and most people don't. I always think, if I have trouble understanding this before I really dig into it, and this is what I do for a living, most people are probably not going to understand that.
Right. Yeah, I think interesting. I think I really echo your thoughts on that. I think you need to get how these things are going to be showing up in their search optimization or search engine optimization, and how it shows up. Now, let me come to go ahead. I think you're saying something.
No, I also wouldn't be surprised if it starts showing up more visibly in GA4 or some of the measuring tools. I think it's just so new, and there's so much data coming in from so many sources that it's still kind of messy.
Yes. And I know the space is evolving at a very rapid pace with a lot of these new things happening out there. So now I'm coming to this interesting question. I call this the XTrawAI question. I know I term this as $1 million or $1 billion question. I know in a world we see now where there's a lot more. The last 2-3 years, we've seen a lot of change happening with generative AI, right? I think you're generating a lot of text, a lot of images, a lot of content. I would say the amount of content now getting generated is a lot more. I'm pretty sure, I think there is some statistic saying that there'll be a lot more AI generated content compared to what is realistically out there. So in this kind of a world where AI itself is writing the answers, how does your firm, I think you guys make sure that your clients are the answers for them, because you are in that search engine optimization or AEO optimization?
So it's measuring. So we're measuring against their competitors for the mate, like what they do and where they do it.
Mm.
And seeing how they're stacking up against their competitors and how many times they're being mentioned in that. I think I kind of want to back up to one thing that you had mentioned that I haven't seen addressed yet is, so we all know that there is a ton of content being generated right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
It would, to write a good 4,000 word article 2 years ago or 3 years ago, it would take you 3 or 4 days to really do a good job of it. Now it's seconds to do that. So that information is being pumped out. So what I am struggling with is, how can all that data be processed? Because it's being served up on the internet, and it still has to be processed by Google and Claude and Gemini. And so think about the fact that they have taken, I have to figure out how to sift through the entire ocean, and then you put 3 more planets worth of ocean on top of that and say, figure out how to get through all this stuff.
Right.
That's the piece that is keeping me up at night. So I'm trying to figure that, are we doing all this work and Google's just going to go revert back to all the old stuff because it can't keep up with all the data?
Right. And so that is where, so what would you say would be your differentiation factor is, how do you kind of handle that and help your customers in their journey?
So how we used to differentiate ourselves is we still do a little bit of it with Google SEO, but we're pay for performance. We're the first pay for performance SEO agency. So if we get our clients on page 1 for the keywords they pick, they pay us. If we don't get them on page 1, they don't pay us. I'm backing off from that model only because I think search is going to go away. I think that I'm worried that the page 1 results are going to go away, and I have yet to see a model that accurately shows I'm on page 1. So if you look on chat and do a search, and I look on chat and do a search, chat's going to go. Chat knows what you like, what you don't like. It's customized. So how are we going to measure that? Until that measurement comes out, we're differentiating ourselves by saying we've been doing this forever. We know search really well. We have a lot of really big clients, and a lot of small. We have clients in literally every industry but adult content. So like doctors, lawyers, fintech, biotech, education, advertising, aerospace. That's how we're differentiating ourselves right now. When a model comes where I can definitively see if I'm ranking on your chat or your Gemini or your Claude, then I'll launch a pay for performance model for that.
Beautiful. I think that's a very interesting point that you raised, right? I think because the earlier Google search, I think we all know about the blue links and the Google search and how generally there are tons of pages, but the first page is the one the user used to look into in the past.
Right.
But now things have changed quite dramatically with this context-based or conversational search, or maybe AI-driven search, which is more conversational. I type something, I get a search.
Right.
So, like you mentioned here, what you search with your context, we might be doing the same kind of search, but the results that you get will be different. Results I get might be different, and some other person. But how do you handle all this and still show up in the context of everybody? I think that's the key.
That is the key, and I think measurement is going to be a really big piece of this. And for a lot of people, for us, it's a very important piece, is to be able to measure, so we can definitively say to our clients, "Hey, you got mentioned in chat this many times. This is the traffic that we've seen from that."
I know it's great talking with you. I know we are. I'm just looking into the time. I think we are. I would like to get to the conversation that I know we're getting to the end of the conversation. For some key takeaways or closing remarks, what's that one action any business that is listening should take this week or this month to improve visibility in their AI-driven search? Because I know we are talking about this AI-driven context search, right? I think
Yeah.
it comes context, and it's not just content, but it's also context.
Yeah, I would say measure it, see how you're ranking. And if you're uncomfortable with any of the engines that are out there that are, that are doing that measurement for you, just do the search yourself. It's just like going on Google and see if you're popping up for what you want to pop up for. And if you're not, then you need to figure out where the gaps are.
Mm-hmm.
But
So-
we'll have clients that this is pre-AI. I remember a big insurance company called and said, "Hey, we got this report from someone online and we want to leave our SEO company and go to you." And I started running searches and they were ranking top 3 for everything. And I'm like, "Why do you want to leave?" I'm like, "I'm happy to take the business from you, but this report that you have is just garbage. Like, you're ranking for everything that's important. If you're not happy with the communication with your SEO company, we'll be more than happy to take you on, but I'm not going to say they're doing a bad job." Right. So you have to do this stuff, do the searches yourself and see how you're doing, rather than relying on a report or someone else.
Right. So I know we are moving from this normal insights to search to AI to generative AI with LLMs, and now we are kind of getting into this agentic world. So I would like to leave the audience with this question. I think maybe your thoughts about this. Now we are moving into an agentic world where a lot of agents or bots are gonna be involved in all these activities. There might be a couple of agents, the companies might be involved, might be investing in, and they will be doing the search or based on of that. So where do you see this getting into in the next 3 to 5 years? I wouldn't go much further than that
Good
because
Lord. Well, so I think when agents start to connect, and I think they're already doing this, they're connecting to all the stuff that you have on your computer and your data, your phone. They're going to start to personalize a lot more information for you and do a lot of things. I think it's almost more about what AI can do for you than searches. It's going to start to be able to, hey, go find all the people that are meeting next week and send them an email for me. I think that's the thing that is, that to me is probably one of the most exciting things. What keeps me up at night is the second that AI and hardware connect, I think we're all in a lot of trouble. I think it's coming very quickly. That's what makes me nervous. Like the whole Internet of Things, like your house is powered by stuff, and that's not connected yet. It's still not working as well as it should be. As soon as IoT connects to AI, it's either going to be awesome or it's going to be not awesome.
Yeah, sure. I was also talking with somebody and they were mentioning something like the asset of things, just like our Internet of Things, assets of things. Now, every asset or everything is becoming digitalized. I should not even say digitalized now. It's more like AI, AI driven access to many of these things. And now they start communicating together and how things will happen. Like you said, I think. Yeah, I know things are happening at a rapid pace, and I believe are your customers, your clients already asking about these kind of questions? I believe
Yes.
to some extent, right? I think, yeah.
Yeah. They're all the larger clients are asking about it. And now I got an email from my team this morning. They're like, more and more people are asking about this. It's coming quickly. I think it's something that I think if you don't address it, just at least don't ignore it.
It's been a great talking with you. How would, if anybody would like to get more information, where should they go? You want to give a shout out about your?
So they can look up GreenBanana SEO, and also I kept losing my business card years ago, so I ended up optimizing for I just met Kevin. So if you Google I just met Kevin, you will pop up. If you say to an LLM, I just met Kevin, it's going to come back and say, so what? Because it's Boolean, right? So that's important. But if you do a Google search for I just met Kevin, it'll take you to my contact information.
Great. It's been a pleasure talking with you, Kevin. Thank you.
Thank you so much. This was great.
This has been a powerful conversation about the future of SEO in an AI-first world. Kevin, thank you for sharing your expertise on how businesses can adapt and thrive as AI becomes the new search engine. For our listeners, remember, visibility isn't just about page one anymore. It's about being the answer. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe, share it with your network, and check out past conversations where we decode the impact of AI across industries. Until next time, keep predicting the future with AI technologies and stay XTraw.